Hey, what's happening out there, everybody? It's your boy from Brooklyn, Chef Shannon Ambrosio. Just saying, what the heck? Why can't I see my whole self over here for some strange reason? Let me see what's going on. What do you think? I don't know. Did something happen? Is it not working? Can you not see me on that screen? Oh, there we go. But I think it's working. Oh, there we go. All right, all right, so here we go. Let's get into this. Hey, everybody, how you doing? It's your boy from Brooklyn, Chef Shannon Ambrosio, just saying happy Labor Day weekend to everybody out there. And thank you, of course, for coming by and hanging out with me for a little bit on this wonderful Sunday evening. You heard? And what are we going to be talking about? The obvious today, right? So labor and Labor Day. And the podcast discussion for today is about finding your labor of love. Like, what are the things that you don't mind doing, right? So then they say that have that saying that, find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life, right? So isn't that a labor of love? The things that you tend to gravitate towards, the things you enjoy doing, and it could be anything. Could be, I don't know, learning how to be a carpenter. We're going to use me as the example. Let's do that right away. So when we're talking about labor of love, I always think about the idea of Labor Day, right? Because this weekend, basically what Labor Day is the idea that it was a way for this country many years ago to give everybody who was helping to build America, right? To build out this country, to give them this day of, praise, to say, hey, here's a day. I mean, a day, listen to me, a day off of Labor Day we got kind of shortchanged, if you understand where I'm going with this one, because they only gave us one day. Meanwhile, my goodness, how many days do we work all year long in order for the country itself to go, oh no, you could take a day off. Gee, that was nice of them. But the idea of the Labor Day consisted of, because they wanted to give something back and give a day of rest to the people that were shaping this country by the use of their labor. And I mean intellectual and physical. So the idea of labor means that you're providing yourself in some way, shape, or form to do something that's for the greater of the good, like the greater of the whole of something. And to me, that's what that means when I think of labor. And like what I'm talking about today is like your labor of love, the things that you enjoy doing that truly bring something so grand, either to yourself or to more than just you. That to me, that deserves that welcoming praise of, labor of love. And, of course, when I think of these things and I think of, being a journeyman carpenter and the physical aspect that it took to actually build this country the way it is in such a short period of time, right? So we're very kind of, we're the young boys on the block, if you understand what I mean. So, but how much labor, intellectually, thinking-wise, right? And then the actual physical labor of things to actually build this country to where it is now. And we're not saying that every part of the country we live in is populated and there's people and, structures and things happening. But for the idea of what is places that we live and dwell and cohabitate together, there has been a lot done to create these things. And Labor Day is a way to give recognition for that. Kind of like, Memorial Day and those ideas, right? Memorial Day and then Labor Day. But I have a very strong feeling, of course, about what I think about labor and what I think about loving what you do, right? You can learn to love what you do and it becomes a labor of love. But a lot of times we even though we don't think we do gravitate towards things that do bring us some kind of enjoyment it could be on any level, right? And, I've talked about that before too, about, if you find a way to love something, you can justify the means to the end, if that makes sense to you, right? Like taking on a job that pays well, but maybe you don't really like that much, but the money kind of puts you in that labor of love because it makes you understand that, hey, at least, I'm not doing the worst of the part, and that I'm getting compensated for it. So you can learn to love something that you do, and it can become a labor of love. But I'm talking about those things where when you're doing them, or you think about doing them, right, what becomes a labor of love. And when you even think about doing these things, it sparks something in your mind, maybe in your heart, maybe, it makes you feel a certain way when you are doing or performing these tasks. And to me, I enjoy that process, right? I talk a lot about the journey of what you're doing, not necessarily the destination, the end result. And that's why I think I always have a lot of projects and things going on at one time, is because my labor of love for things I think grows exponentially. if you already know, right? And when you have these thoughts constantly, I think, in the labors that you love, in the things that you do, no matter what it is, it could be writing a poem, it could be singing a song, it could be, I don't know, it could really be anything. How high can you bounce a beach ball? And I don't know if that's even something. But maybe it is. I'm not sure. But, the idea of these things of becoming a labor of love, I enjoy the process of it, right? Like getting into something that you're just starting into, right? No matter what it is. And all of a sudden, when you think about it, and when you're not doing and you think about it, it makes you smile, or it sparks something in your brain that gets you to think about something that pertains to that. So, I have a tendency to do those things a lot. So it's kind of like, once I kind of fall in love with the idea of something, it doesn't take long for me to take off like a rocket ship. I go 100 miles an hour as fast as I can in the super duper lane. But the idea is that I find the love in the thing that I'm doing at the time that I'm doing it. And I think that's the labor of love. When people came over here, and immigrants and people from other countries, and this is me talking about us as people bonding and understanding what this means together as a whole, as a nation and as a race of humans, is that we all find these labors of love, right? So when we all came here in the beginning, or whatever, the bad intentions aside, I'm talking about the people that came here and decided that this was probably going to be a better way of life at some point. And they decided that they wanted to be here. So it was important for them to find the labor of love in doing and building this country, and giving opportunities, and opening up doors, and just creating a plethora of things, good, bad, or indifferent, up or down, is the labor of the love of the people that came here. Hey, we got a super chat, Bombada, coming through here real quick. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, when I think about, hold on. Yeah, the itchy nose again. When I think about Labor Day, I think about the idea of us as, newcomers to a new country, coming here and wanting to build something better, something that was much more easily accessible for people. And it wasn't all about the rulers and the kings and the lords and all this stuff. And it was an opportunity for everybody that came here, whatever the case may be. I'm talking about the working class people. We're going back to the labor here. All the other people, that live somewhere else, and not for me. But the idea of the labor and giving back and thanking people for saying, hey, listen, we understand it was, tough and things were hard at times. And we just want to say thank you for, giving yourself enough to find the labor of love in creating where we live and where we habitate here now in this country. On the other side, aside from all the other stuff that went on beforehand. And I think, to me, when it comes to labor of love, you could find it in just about anything that brings you happiness, anything that brings you joy when you're doing it. And it doesn't matter if it's on something such a small level that most people don't think about it, or to something that's just super grand, like wanting to build, the next tallest skyscraper, or, putting everybody into space at one point. Those are the ideas of the labor of love for the grandeur of the whole, right? So the human race as we know it, right? It's kind of like the idea of what's going on now, the uncertainty, between COVID and what's happening, is certain things happening for the greater good, creating this, global pandemic, and everybody maybe understanding that we're all equal at some point, and becoming an equalizer. So, I don't understand, when we think about these things, it needs to bring us together. The labor of love for us joining together and creating something, I think is a great thing to celebrate, why we have Labor Day. And that's it. And other than that, it's just me rambling about the idea that we should be having, again, Labor Day shouldn't be one day. I think if you're a, tax-paying citizen or whatever of this country, at some point, you should be given a certain amount of time off, and there should be some kind of compensation for it. So, but, the idea of laboring for something you love, I take a lot of pride in what I do and the things that I do. And I'm sure everybody else out there does the same, right? And so we're going to go through it here. Listen to me. If you want to leave any questions or comments, about what do you find in your labor of love? What is that thing that you do that just brings you so much joy that you don't mind doing it? It just becomes more of a gratifying thing that you're just doing rather than a task. I mean, I like the idea of that thing, right? And listen to me, if you're not subscribed to my channel, please make sure you go down there and subscribe to my channel, and let's see if we can get your bell rung today. Maybe. How about now? And don't forget to ring that bell, folks, so you get notified when I'm either doing a live stream or put up one of my videos on cooking and eating and maybe some building and fixing. Not sure yet, but we'll get back to that real soon. All right. And, this is ENN Studios, so I really enjoy the fact that you guys are sharing this. So if you know anybody else who just wants nothing to do on a Sunday evening and hang out with us, no, by all means, share it with them. And it's a good thing that I moved it this way we could see me say it at the same time. But listen, folks, if you think somebody out there may find this helpful, useful, insightful, or insightful, just share it with them. They'll get a laugh too. And that's what's up. My social media handles are down in the description below. So make sure you go over, follow me on my social media, and who knows, we could be friends on some other platform. That's what that means right there. Oh, I'm on the TikTok thing a little bit now. So go over and head over there. And, if you don't want to watch me while I'm doing this, because I know some people get tired of looking at me sometimes. Like, yo, he's back again every Sunday? I don't understand why. Didn't we tell him last week he could take a week off? Wait, he's just talking about Labor Day. Let's give him the week off. Don't come back next week. That's not nice. Be nice to me. I'm only trying to get through this thing just like you are. Hold on. The ride's going to get a little bumpy today. So go over there on this side right here. And if you want to just listen to the podcast, you can do that over here on any one of these platforms. It's also in the description below. You can find the links to all these podcasting platforms, or you can just listen to me, like Couple Accidents in the car, on the way to work, or your aunt's house or something, or to the barbecue tomorrow, whatever you want to. That's quite all right. That's up to you. I'm leaving that choice to you. And don't come in here getting the goat, all right? That's all I got to say. Keep the conversations light and free-flowing. Don't upset me in this room today, because the goat's going out on a free basis today. We had a lot of craziness that happens over here, right? So I was talking about labor. My whole life is based around labor, just things that I do all the time. I don't ever not have something happening. And so my life has been a constant labor so far. Not a bad one. And I don't mean like a bad labor, like I'm disgusted with it. No, I mean like it's been, I don't really remember very many dull points. I really don't. I'm just trying to say, I don't really remember when I wasn't just working really hard at something. Like I gotta have a thought in my mind, like nothing was happening. No, I don't remember that. It's very hard. I don't even think back that far. I think the last time I really didn't think there was much going on except for I had to get up, eat a bowl of cereal, and go off to school. And once Little League started and I had to do something every week, I think that's when it all started to affect me. My labor of love. I'm like, shit, I'm going to be a busy man. My mind hasn't stopped since I can remember. So just bear with me, all right? It's Labor Day weekend. Listen, if you think this is funny, wait.
Oh my God, who the hell cares?
Oh, hell no.
Nobody really cares. That's the truth. Have an espresso and down to chill, right? I don't know. And what's funny, and I'm going to circle back to this, and I know you're probably like, yeah, this guy don't stop. So I'm getting there, right? I'm almost finished, right? Well, it took, from 1984 till now to read this thing and understand it. So, right? That's about around the same time I just started picking up books and reading. And when you think about Labor Day, right, too, because I'm reading George Orwell's 1984, the idea is, I think about when we have traditions like this and these things that do celebrate certain amount of things that have been achieved, right, landmarks, and in time and people understanding these factors, right? When I read a book like 1984 by George Orwell, and he talks about them, it disappears. Like there's no holidays, there's no celebrations, there's no idea, no recollection of there ever being a time where the whole country was unified, where everybody was, happy about being here and being part of this thing. And he talks about how if these things disappeared, that we know it, right? As we know it here in this country. If these things disappear and history is rewritten and it never becomes part of history again, then how would we ever know it existed? And that's the tough part. You when it comes to laboring, if it's not recognized as a whole at some point, then what's it all for? I mean, that's just my thought process on that, right? And that's why we say talk about a labor of love. You find something that excites you, that you love to do, that you love to be part of, like groups or whatever the case may be. And if that's where your heart is, then that's where you go, if that's what you feel is right. And it will become a labor of love. And you'll wiggle your way around and figure out how to do it that way, right? Whether you want a career in it or whether you just want to, do it as a hobby or what have you. But the idea is that once you find that labor of love, that you just absolutely you need to be doing it constantly. Like I said, it's me. It's the constant idea of learning, knowledge, seeking the next thing that I think may, get my brain a little buzzing. So I really think that the labor of love, I mean, it happens in so many different forms, but the idea of giving the country, I think, as a whole, and the people of the country as a whole, because, that's really, even so far removed, that's what happens. They decided that it was necessary. It was a necessary thing, a necessity to understand that people need to be acknowledged for what they do. And I think that's a wonderful thing, I'm gonna get some cool pics up here too. Let's do this, right? Because when I talk about, and everybody knows and they're following me on my social media and all that stuff, I know you are, right? Tell me you are. Then you'll know that I absolutely just am ecstatic when I'm getting into something, and I really, I use weird words today. I'm thrusting myself. Hey, don't even think about it out there. So, but the idea is that I really do I jump all in. I'm not one to, think too long about something in order to understand that it'll, at some point, it's going to bring me happiness and it's going to become a labor of love. Even though it may be a little difficult in the beginning. It's crazy. But when I think about labor of love, and I think about, me deciding later on in life to change my career one more time, right? That's because that's what I needed. I needed to change the career one more time. The other 2,000 prior to this just wasn't enough. But you see here, like, when I truly, I spend my time, you notice in the center over there, building the set to start the cooking and eating videos, because I'm very excited about getting this done right and getting back in front of the camera and showing how much I love what I do. And I do it with the, with the other stuff too. But I just, it's truly still the journey and the labor of loving what I'm doing that creates my joy. And when I think about it, I can't help but smile. I can't help but talk about it. I can't help but share all these things with everybody, because it truly does bring me enough happiness that I want to share that with everybody. All the labors of my love. Not everybody feels the same. Not everybody wants to be in a hot kitchen cooking food all the time. But the idea of the enjoyment that I get out of it and doing it, and in the process of doing that, it brings me to a place where I'm extremely happy and calm with who I am, where I am, and how I am at that immediate time. So I feel that, and I find that when you approach somebody who's absolutely just, so smitten by what they're doing at the time that they're doing it. And like I said, it doesn't matter to me. I don't care if somebody's waxing the floor or washing pots and pans. If you watch somebody and there's serenity and they're serene in the things that they're doing at that time, they find the love. They bring the joy into it at the time. Even if it's not the most enjoyable thing when they started. You can see it, It's kind of watching somebody perform a task that they normally do, and it becomes so existential that it seems like they've always done it, and that you're not so much smiling all the time, but the idea of the process doesn't burden them anymore, if that makes sense to you. I don't know. Sometimes you just want to celebrate Labor Day and go outside and barbecue, which I love. And then sometimes I just want to think differently about it. I'm sorry for being intellectual. But, that's how I feel about the idea of Labor Day. I think it's a great celebrated holiday for people, every one of us, to acknowledge the person to their left or their right, to understand that they, in some way, shape, or form, or not performing, but doing something that has become a labor of love for them in order to contribute to the entire idea of humankind. And the idea that we're all on this ship on a planet called Earth. And it's crazy. But I think a lot of times we have to, think about our similarities, and the similarities in all of us. Every human being that walks the face of this earth in some way, shape, or form performs a labor that somewhere, some way, somehow helps somebody else do something better at some point. So I love the idea of the word labor. And like I said, it could live anywhere. It could be intellectual, and it could be physical. Those are the only two things it can be. But the contribution of labor itself out for everybody is, to me, a wonderful thing that anybody can do. So I have a great place in my heart for Labor Day. It's a great holiday. Great holiday here. Oh, and here I'm going to shame you now, because all I want to do now. So you see here, when I talk about labor of love, and people know that I just absolutely love being in the kitchen, but I also love my building, and I love creating things. Anything that I could possibly think about in my head. So if there's things that I can think about in my head, and I know that I have this ability at some point, somehow, and I don't know sometimes, of creating the thing that I think of in my head. And it may take me a little bit to kind of work it out to get everything situated properly because my brain functions in a laborly process. So it's kind of like I have to compartmentalize a lot of things in order to get a certain tasks done in a decent amount of time. Otherwise, I would never be able to get them done because I overthink everything. But the idea of the labor that it took to do these things sometimes is frustrating, but it's never the idea that I don't enjoy it while I'm doing it. If you understand, if you've been there before, you kind of get it, right? So understanding that what I have in my head that I see, that it's not even tangible yet, not physical yet, right? Which is the labor part of what somebody provides themselves to perform a task of labor of some kind. And you basically starting from nothing, you're a person sitting there, and then you have to perform this task that's never ever been done before by yourself. So when I think of labor and I think of these things, I think of like, wow, and everybody has that ability to take something that's in their head at some point and do something physical that it becomes, it manifests, if you understand what I mean. It comes from your head. There's just a thought and an imagination of some kind, even if it's just a mundane task. And then your body has to think and process that for your body to actually physically do that task of any kind. So how much joy do you think that brings? I think my thing is the brain wave into the body says, yo, check this out. You just did that. And it just kind of, it keeps you moving. The labor of your love keeps you moving to that next step in order to get to a finished idea of what you think done is, right? Because here's an analogy for you. And finally, all the built-ins and everything are done. Like the bench seat I built is all done. I mean, I love it. It really, the picture's good, but when you see it in person, it's really beautiful. And the idea is, that excitement that we get from the labors that we perform, I think, is what, like I said, makes us get done. And I learned something working construction. So here I got an analogy for you. So I learned working construction that there is a thing between done and finished, right? So you walk up to somebody and you say, hey, you got to move those 100 boards of rock into that other area over there. All right. And then you come back at the end of the day and you say, you done? And they go, yeah, I'm done. And then you go up to the spot where the 100 boards were supposed to be moved, and there's only half of them moved. Next day you ask them, I thought you said you were done. And they go, we were done. We just weren't finished. So if that makes sense to you, it's kind of, I have that analogy in my brain constantly as to I'm done, but I'm not finished, if that makes sense to you. So when I was finally brought to my attention that the idea of the vernacular changed the way I felt about things. So they say, you can have to do something or you can get to do something. But the idea for me, what resonated the most with me about labor and laboring for love is that I'm done. For this task, I am done. But I am not finished because it's the labor of love that makes me do what I do. And I hope that helps somebody out there, because to me it makes a lot of sense to figure out what your labor of love is and then love doing it. And happy Labor Day, everybody. It's your boy from Brooklyn, and you know how it goes. Every day is a good day. And if you give a smile, you're going to get a smile. Give a bunch of them smiles out there, folks. We all need them. We all want them, and we should all get them. Make that part of your labor of love. Give out a lot of smiles. That is a labor of love immediately, to smile in any circumstance. Water. H2O. But that to me is a great, the celebration of Labor Day is a great holiday, I think, for everybody. And that, what's funny, we have all this craziness going on now between our countries and in between us and up and down and sideways. And how great would that be if there was once a global holiday, right? If we just celebrated the idea of everybody's labor of love and celebrated an international, global Labor Day. That to me would be profound. There would be no explanations, I think, necessary. Take it as you may, do with it what you want, because we, believe it or not, everybody on this planet, we're all in this together. All our labors of love created what we have right now. And we are, like I said, much more similar than we are not alike. And that's it, folks. That's my session, and I'm sticking to it. And I gotta go. Peace out.